It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we had a great week for entertainment debuts, Mike. Like, everything was this week, I felt like. Like, Wednesday was the day to be all days. But, you know, we're going to talk with Doctor Strange debuting on streaming, right? If you've got Disney Plus, you can now watch it. The Umbrella Academy dropped on Netflix. I have not got to watch it because I'm sitting here recording it, the show. Several Disney Plus shows had some stuff and more. And more is going to be one of those episodes we talk about later that we can't say at the start of the show because, you know, this is a family-friendly show and we can't talk about the boys very, very frequently on the show. But this episode is worth bringing up at the top of the show.
Yeah, summer is in full swing, right? I think over like the last 2.5 episodes we've recorded, there's been at least a heat wave somewhere on the planet, unfortunately. Whether that's good news or bad news, I don't know. But out here on the West Coast, it 100% feels like we're in the throes of summer with 90-degree plus days. It's when you go out to the pool, you know, and you don't have to worry about the pool having kind of a chilly bite that you got to get used to anymore. Like the pool just feels like bath water, which is actually kind of nice. So we've been dealing with that this weekend.
Wow, dealing with warm bath water, pool water. Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, no, it's been last week and the week before it was really super warm and followed me from Texas all the way home to the middle of the country, and then this week has been we've had a reprieve here or there. But what I like about summer, and this is most people may disagree with me, is the amount of daylight we have. To be completely honest,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The sun doesn't go down until 8:30.
Yeah, well, it's been 9:30, almost 10 o'clock here. There's still light outside, kind of thing, and it's been waking me up a little earlier. So I feel like I've been really maximizing my days in the summer, and I'm going to lose all of this come winter time. Like whenever daylight savings goes the other way and it's dark at 5 and it's barely light at 7. So I'm going to be really embracing that right now.
I'll bring the summertime sunshine back around to what we like to talk about on this show, which is anything but the outdoors.
Right.
Does anybody else have difficulty positioning their television in their main living area because of glares in the sun? We have to have I swear our drapes closed all the time, or I can never watch anything because immediate opposite of our TV is a huge sliding door window. So I keep seeing these TVs getting advertised, these new ones that are matte finished, so you can put an art painting screensaver on them, so it kind of looks like you have a painting on the wall, and they're actually kind of white plastic instead of black plastic.
It's like a Sony or LG or someone's making those, right?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is. I don't want to throw thousands of dollars at a brand new television just to see if it'll work. But I'm curious if any listeners out there have a matte finished television, because I'm not so worried about the matteness of the TV ruining my general viewing experience, because I'm just not much of a visual snob when it comes to clarity of 1080, 4K, whatever. But I just want to know if it could save me from the sun glare. And it's a bad one too. It's the entire TV. It's not one line of glare. The entire TV is reflecting the window behind me.
Yeah.
So
I totally feel your pain. I used to have that with my computer whenever we used to record these at my previous apartments before we bought a house. But as a projector owner, Mike, I don't have these problems because the screen's just white matte anyway. But I did. I went ahead and looked up. There are apparently, if you go to Amazon, some anti-glare screen protectors for televisions of different sizes.
I could probably do that. Just slap it on and see what happens.
My other recommendation, which makes no sense at all, it actually probably adds more hassle to your life, is maybe you could get like one of those smart home blind things where it's like when you turn on the TV, it closes your blinds for you, your curtains.
See.
One of those motorized.
I do have to say, I am like, because we moved somewhat recently. I have to say, like, I enjoy the sunlight from the comfort of my air-conditioned home. So I don't mind watching television with sunlight coming in. I just don't want it to distract me from television.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Like, you gotta consider that, especially like when you're arranging your room. Like, I want to move my stuff around the room. Like, where's the sun at, and how will it either enhance or ruin your day? So, 100%. Yeah, so we'll jump into some of the stuff we've been doing here at the start of this. You're going to mention a movie I've maybe seen 30 minutes of. Because my wife was watching it and I was not, and I was coming in and out of the room. But I do know Sam Rockwell, one of my, I really like him as an actor, is the main voice in this. So go ahead and tell us, Mike, what you thought of The Bad Guys.
DreamWorks' latest animated feature, The Bad Guys, I think is now, as I speak, available like on digital. I think it's even streaming on Peacock if you have a subscription over there. So easy to pick it up and go watch it. But it hit theaters a couple of weeks ago, I would say with a bit of a thud, because I never heard anybody talk about it. So, but I was excited to watch it because it looked really fun and really exciting. And I could say that the visuals of this movie are absolutely astounding. It's kind of doing what all of these other kind of cutting-edge animated films are doing now, like Mitchell's vs. the Machines or Spider-Verse or, that new Puss in Boots movie that's coming out soon. They're like really kind of like pushing of what you can and can't do with 3D animation, mixing in 2D traditional. There's some really fun chase sequences in this film, a lot of energy and like a dynamic action moments, and so visually the movie's great, but unfortunately the story is like a little weird, a little over bloated, over complicated, especially for a movie directed towards kids. It seems like, why did you throw in all of these extra elements? There's a moment in the first act of the film where a character just randomly brings up, out of nowhere, almost apropos of nothing, oh, does everybody remember when a meteor crashed into the city a couple months ago? And it's just like, what? Meteor? Like, we have not even broached an idea of, like, space or cosmic anywhere in this movie. And then all of a sudden, that kind of becomes the MacGuffin of the movie out of nowhere. It kind of felt like I was watching a lesser sequel of Zootopia in a way, even though there are like humans in the mix of this universe. But overall, I would still recommend it, especially if you can just like pop it on and watch it for free on Peacock, because visually it looks great. This is kind of like one of those movies where you would be ecstatic to look through like the art of book, but maybe you wouldn't necessarily pick it up anytime soon to rewatch. But overall, it was a fun time. I would say like B-. B- in my head kind of feels about right.
So I'm gonna tag on your comment there about an art book. This is based on an actual graphic novel series in Australia. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
Yep. So that's the big deal. Is like this is a huge graphic novel series in Australia. I think they might have. I don't think they're up to 20 yet, but they're getting close. They're putting several out a year.
The random meteor makes a little bit more sense because it now, in the context of knowing that it's a pre-existing in print, kind of makes me think like, oh, okay, they tried to translate something that was probably a little bit more quirky onto the big screen and was kind of weird the way they threw it in.
Yeah. The other thing I would say is I have two coworkers with small children, and they absolutely love this movie.
Yeah.
Kids love talking animals and flashy sequences kind of thing.
Yeah, there is absolutely entertainment value in this movie at all. But, if you have to, like, kind of grade it and rank it in the echelon of just kind of other movies out there, say it's, falls about mid-tier. And great time.
And I'm not seeing it on streaming using Just Watch, so looks like they maybe removed it.
Yeah, it could. I think it could be soon. Maybe it's one of those kind of like July 1st type of deals, beginning of the month. So
yeah,
Bad Guys, it was fun. But if we want to talk even less fun, we all know I was doing my best to slowly work my way through the Twilight franchise.
I honestly had hoped you'd forgotten about it at this point.
Well, I wish I had. I made it to the second to last film, which is a part 1, and I can't do it anymore. I reached my limit. I thought I could just push through and find like some quirky entertainment value in this like pop culture phenomenon, but I totally have run out of gas in this. I don't even know what the second to last movie's called. It's like part 1 is like New Dawn, Horizons, Blood Moons. I don't know, whatever it is. But I'm like, I think I'm an hour into the movie that I will not finish. But the stakes that they've set up for the second to last film, Chris, you know, it's not like a vampire out there in the woods stalking somebody. It's not a rival werewolf, not even a Frankenstein alien-esque creature that might be thrown into the mix. It is Edward and Bella getting married, and they are curious if she will survive a sexual encounter with Edward while she is a human.
Oh,
that
nice.
is the main driving tension so far in the film. Every character's weighed in on it. They all are curious if they should turn her before she has sex with Edward. It's so weird. Because, like, usually when you kind of bring up things of this nature, it's in a totally different type of, like, TV show context. It's almost like you'd think you'd be watching, like, a Seth Rogen movie, right? Because it's, like, comedic in a way. But, yeah, I don't think I can finish Twilight. If I do, I'll probably maybe just skip to the last bits of the movie, just kind of piece things together. I know there's, like, a crazy, weird CG baby, but I've seen clips of that already on YouTube years ago, so maybe I'll try to find that scene and put it into context. But yeah. Don't think I'll be finishing Twilight, Chris.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can always just do a recap video, right? One of those what's online.
Yeah, I love those. Those are my favorite. Those were very, very necessary for one of the topics we'll be talking about here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But The Boys, Chris.
Yes. Turn away if you're underage.
Yes, I was happy to hear that you were caught up on this as well. We talked about, I actually totally forgot about this, but we talked about this specific episode like a year ago when the second season of The Boys had wrapped and we were getting news on the third episode, and you told me, they're going to include this kind of like infamous moment from the comic books called Herogasm. And then we looked at a couple like comic book panels, and it was like a superhero orgy. And I had totally forgotten about it until like a week ago when like some of the stars in the show and some other people online started kind of like promoting like, the next episode of The Boys, it's Herogasm. And even when you start this episode up, there's like a disclaimer at the front of it.
Yep.
Not like the one for Obi-Wan that says like, some of these images may be disturbing due to like current events, just, viewer discretion advised, very somber. This one is like written like tongue in cheek, like you're about to see some shit. Like you already know that because you're watching The Boys, but we're just letting you know that this one's kind of like cranked up to 11 and it gets really crazy. So I like looked over at my wife and I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Like this is intense. This is crazy, but it was a wild episode. And I think honestly, some of the character, altercations kind of overshadowed the orgy.
So
it's not something I thought I'd be talking about. The orgy was more just like background, just entertainment.
Well, I would say it was more tame than actually the opening, I guess the second scene of the whole series, right? Of the season. Yeah. Because like it's there and it's just kind of happening, but like no one's really taking part in it, of the main characters. They're just kind of like walking through it. But you're right, the culmination of the fight scene is really the biggest four-way going on in this episode, if you will. Because that was pretty good. I just want to go, before I forget, this episode started off with a pair, like, I like to watch my shows because of realism and escapism. This show is becoming too real for me lately. And I would say because it opened literally with a parody of Gal Gadot's Imagine video that she made in quarantine with all the rich people. And like literally they got all these other people in this to do the exact same song and just making fun of all those celebrities during the quarantine time during the early days of the pandemic. And it's beautiful. It's skewering, like real life celebrities, but also superheroes. And this show's getting real close to real life, Mike, and it's scaring me a little bit. But I gotta say, I was at the same time I'm sitting there like I'm braced. I'm like, I told my wife, I'm like, look, there's a reason there's a notification before this episode, unlike the other ones, because this show is brutal. It's gory. It's unabashedly, gory even. Why would they throw a disclaimer up now? I'm like, well, it's gonna get pretty rough later. I'm pretty sure. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I almost thought the disclaimer was kind of unnecessary, and it almost like overhyped it for me, because I thought this was going to be like, oh, they're really going to push the limits of what Amazon Prime will let them stream on their platform. But to me, it just kind of felt like, oh, this is going to sound weird. I'm not like a guy that was looking to watch the next episode of The Boys and hoping they were going to like be co-sponsored by Pornhub, right? I wasn't like looking for this stuff, but like, when you're hyping it up, you're expecting to see a lot. And there was some like Mother's Milk got covered head to toe in Mother's Milk, if you will. So that was pretty hilarious. I almost forgot about that, actually.
Yeah, what's the guy with who opens the door and he's like naked and his
what do they
penis
call him?
is like
love sausage? Is that the kind of the name?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. He's a superhero earlier in the season.
If anything, it's almost like it's weird kind of talking about this without too many spoilers, because I want everybody to go watch The Boys, because it's one of the best superhero properties out there right now. But they just do such a good job kind of building up this season to an altercation between two characters, and we get to see a little bit of that in this episode, and it's so satisfying to watch that you don't even care that there's like somebody behind them like getting their salad tossed and eventually like exploded, right? So it's almost like they did too good of a job introducing these characters, but in typical Boys fashion, they create like really hilarious and amazing set pieces, and this was a hilarious set piece. But The Boys is just firing off on all cylinders this season. Yeah,
because this note has gained a lot of notoriety, or this episode has gained a lot of notoriety. Eric Kripke said that there was only one note from Amazon on this episode, actually, and it was and it says, "In every moment, we have to understand that this is a superhero orgy, not just an orgy." So, the superhero stuff was, they said they added some of that in to enhance the ideas of people using powers in this. So.
Yeah, not to spoil it, but for an example, if two people are going at it, there could be an arc of electricity between like the two nipples or something like that. Those nice little touches there.
Yeah, lots of going on here, but again, thankfully they did it with taste, right? Like they didn't just be gratuitous to be gratuitous, like you mentioned. So it's just again. Horror, like if superheroes were real in real life, this is exactly what it would feel like the entire way through. Yeah, so
and what a great cliffhanger too, because this show like toes this amazing line with the character of Homelander, who is kind of setting up to be like this all-powerful god. Nobody can stop him. He can do whatever he wants. His only limitation is what his brain is telling him, right? So you're always filtering everything of like, oh, if this character says this in public, how is Homelander going to react? How is he going to like pivot? What is he going to do? Because like everybody in the show is preparing for a moment where Homelander could theoretically snap, go crazy, lose all of his connection to humanity and just society, and just start becoming like a killing mindless machine. And like that's the thing that they're trying to stop, because once that happens, there's no going back. It's been crazy. The tension's been great. I love it.
Well, it's also been a culmination of that, right? They kind of implied that since the first episode of the whole show. But this one is, this season, I guess, is accelerating some of that a little bit, without, going, too far wide to make it too unrealistic. So, it's very interesting. A lot of stuff's coming out. I think there's 8 episodes, so we've got like 3 left, right? 2 or 3 left, I think. So I'm very excited to see how this, season ends. It's already been renewed for season 4, which is sad because I'm like, oh, that means some of these main characters are definitely going to make it out. I wish not knowing until the end. That way we could, at least be left in our seats a little bit longer. But it's definitely been very a consistently good show, and this season is no less than the other. So definitely catch it on Amazon Prime Video when you get a chance. Without your kids, probably.
You don't want to watch this one with the kiddos. But the next one here, Umbrella Academy, no spoilers, obviously, because Chris said he hasn't even jumped into it yet. Also, It's the first weekend of the show, so I'm not going to go ahead and spoil Umbrella Academy Season 3. But Umbrella Academy is back in full form. Loving this season. I think we're about 2/3 of the way through it myself. I just love how the juxtaposition of these last two shows that we just talked about, right? Both superhero shows taking it from two totally different angles, both adapted on, previous material, right? The Boys really leans into what is it like to be a superhero? How does that change and affect society? It's all about superpowers, and it's all about the vanity
and business and everything.
Yeah, of being that way. And the Umbrella Academy, when you think about it and you watch these two things side by side, the Umbrella Academy is almost... It feels like nothing about powers, right? It's just about this family and their shared trauma that they bonded over. And then you throw in some crazy apocalypses and some time travel and whatnot, and it's almost more of a science fiction show than anything else. And I'm just having a great time. I will tease that there is a hallucinogenic moment in this show that you don't know somebody is hallucinating until after the kind of trip has passed, and it's just super fun and entertaining to watch. And when it starts, you don't even understand why it's happening, but you're just having a great time, and you go oh, okay, that's why. So there's just lots of fun stuff happening in this. The cast of the Umbrella Academy, the crew, the family is just amazing, and just as enigmatic and just fun to watch on screen as they were the last two seasons. I would recommend, just how I do with everything, is to just pop on YouTube and look for recaps, so you are at least up to date if you don't want to go back and rewatch these shows. This one, since if you've watched last season, you know that they've kind of come back from the 60s and they're kind of back in their normal timeline. Yeah. So things kind of tee slightly more into kind of what happened in the origins of the Umbrella Academy, first seasons and back. So it might also be worthwhile to watch a recap of season 1 as well. There's one on YouTube that maybe 15 minutes long. I think you'll get a lot out of that as well. But yeah, I'm having a great time. There's always an apocalypse. Yeah. I love. Man, it's just great. I love the Umbrella Academy. It's so great. I feel like I'm spoiled right now when it comes to superhero television. Yeah. Between The Boys and Umbrella Academy, I'm just a pig in shit, as they say.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I didn't even mention today. Westworld season 4 dropped on HBO. So it's been 2 years since when I saw Westworld, I think.
Oh, I don't even know.
Yeah. So I mean, I've heard really good things about this season. So that's. They did a time jump forward apparently for this one, so pretty excited about that. So yeah, we're literally living it. I'm excited because one of the things I enjoy, Mike, this, is retro video games, old school video games. Love playing them, love doing it. And this week, I guess maybe the last week, dropped Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge. Have you seen this game yet at all?
Yeah, you kind of poked and prodded me a little bit this week, and it reminded me, I did see some things on my Twitter feed where I was seeing some TMNT side-scrolling arcade stuff, but it didn't look familiar. It almost looked like it was upgraded and new. So I'm guessing that's what that was.
Yeah, so Shredder's Revenge is essentially... If they had made a third side-scrolling Turtles game from the 80s arcade, or 90s arcade, this would have been what it was, essentially. They've updated it to modern graphics, modern consoles. It's got a new soundtrack. The graphics are still pixelated side-scrolling, right, to lean into that. But it's fine because it plays fantastic. I would say this is akin to Streets of Rage 4, which came out, I believe, maybe early this year or late last year, which was a continuation from that Genesis game from the 90s, and just shows that side-scrolling beat 'em ups still have life, in the 2000s, 2020s. And what's been really cool about this is it is 6-player co-op, Mike. So you can play all 4 Turtles, Splinter, and April. as the main characters, and you unlock spoiler alert, Casey Jones. Once you beat the game. Casey has probably the best special attack, so he's worth having. Again, what's cool is I think right now on PlayStation, with PlayStation Plus, this game's $23, so it's really a nice price point. It's got 16 levels replayability. There's collectibles you can go back and find in the levels to give to characters. The mini map that you choose is like a top down, like old school, like kind of like a Mega Man map level kind of thing that you move around. It's really fun. It's been really great. And you can level up your characters. One of the achievements / trophies is to get every character to level 10. As you level up, you get more special bars, more health points, stuff like that. Little things. It doesn't change the gameplay much. It just gives you a little more, I guess, vitality as you move forward. I played the first 10 levels, this weekend. It's on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, it's free as well. But like I played the first 10 levels, then I jumped into online for the last 5, which were fantastic, by the way. So imagine like 6-player chaos. The enemies' numbers don't change, just the health levels. So like you're all smack. I didn't know where I was, or which turtle I was for most of the games, but it's got the classic characters. The foot soldiers, Bebop, Rocksteady, Baxter Stockman, the guy who turned himself into a fly, right? Krang, Shredder. It's just I don't have an affinity for turtles growing up as much as probably other people do. But I love the old games, Turtles and Turtles in Time. Definitely dropped a bunch of quarters in those. So this game, I just can't recommend enough. If you're looking for something to just play that doesn't require you to stress out about circles closing in on you or like what your kill death ratio is, just jump in and play. And like I said, it's 4-player couch co-op, 6-player online. You can't beat that these days. You just don't get those anymore. So highly, highly recommend that. Now, let's jump into the news, Mike, because this coming weekend, I know you're going to be busy. You're going to be going places.
What a terrible time to make a vacation.
Yeah.
All of this media coming back.
Stranger Things Season 4 Part 2 will be dropping on July 1st, which is this coming Friday. I believe it's just 2 episodes. I cannot keep track of...
It should be more than 2 episodes. Shouldn't it just be the other half?
No,
so shouldn't it
they're
be...
long. They're super long, like 2.5 hours long episodes. There were 7, right? No, is it 4? Maybe 4 now. How many were in the first half?
Oh God, I don't even remember.
Right.
This is the weird thing when it comes to Netflix release strategies, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're doing things in chunks, my brain, right? Would think it would be
we watched 7
equal parts, right?
There were 7 episodes, and there are 2 more left, and they are super long episodes. Yep. So according to all of this, so I think they're like 2 hours and 2.5 hours respectively. So equivalent of 4 normal episodes, I believe, at the end of the day. But there are only 2 left. Very excited. Like the half it kind of left off on was a great reveal to kind of push these last 2 episodes over into what we're going to see. So I'm very excited to see where this show goes, because as we know, there's only 1 season left after this, right? So
it looks like the last 2 episodes even have episode titles. So Chapter 8 is Papa, Chapter 9 is The Piggyback.
Yeah,
which sounds like a science-y, fiction-y strategy.
Sounds like a football move to me.
Yeah, some sort of gameplay or something like that.
And there was a quick trailer this week too, and they keep blaring the hell out of running up that hill. Like Bush, so
yeah, I avoided the trailer just because, like, why? I already know I'm going to be watching it. I don't need to be convinced. I don't want to be spoiled. Also, I'm going to have to... The nice thing about traveling when Stranger Things and Thor Love and Thunder coming out is I'll be in a different country with spotty internet, and it will motivate me to stay off of my phone and to enjoy the travel experience. But yeah, I will be watching Stranger Things as soon as we get back.
Okay. Well, yeah, you're going to be... I'm excited to kind of get your feedback, and like I said, when you come back, also don't get online. Just stay offline for a couple of days, because you're going to need to get through a couple things on the way. But that's great. That's only 2 episodes. Literally, with everything coming on, dropping in and out this week, it is hard to keep track of what's coming and going, and where you can make time for it. While still also, like you said, enjoying the summertime. So that's it's going to be enjoyable next weekend. Marvel Studios, big announcement this week. I think almost probably rocked the comic book / comic book movie world. Marvel is going back to San Diego Comic-Con this year for the first time in 3 years, Mike. We were there at their last. one.
Yeah, it is weird to think that felt like felt like eons ago.
Yeah, that was like one whole sunburn ago, Mike. It was so bad, but it was so fun. We literally, what we do, we ended up reading Twitter at was a Chinese restaurant, I think, or something like that.
In a sushi restaurant.
Restaurant, yeah. So it was really fun. They're teasing major announcements. Kevin Feige, he's out doing press release for Thor: Love and Thunder. Doctor Strange is hitting streaming. He says that the next phase villain will become clear in the coming months. Well, we only have like 2 things in the coming months, Mike. Thor: Love and Thunder, and She-Hulk. Miss Marvel has to in the back half as well, and so he could mean going as far as Black Panther 2. So I don't know. I don't know what would be left.
Or he's just implying that they're going to do what they do all the time when they go to San Diego Comic-Con is rock the house.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be literally next month in July. So stand up on the stage, throw some fresh, hot new logos up there of new stuff that's announced. Maybe bring out Jonathan Majors on stage, possibly tease something that he's going to be in.
I would guess some teaser footage 100% for Black Panther, Ant-Man, and the Marvels. And not Guardians 3 if possible.
It was curious to see that they were coming back to San Diego Comic-Con. I mean, of course, this is kind of like the return of Comic-Con, right, after COVID. So this is kind of like a big deal in a way of like probably one of the biggest cons on the planet, coming back from a pandemic. But also the Disney's other big kind of homegrown Comic-Con D23 Expo is in September. So that they're going to have a presence there just because they always do. So it makes you wonder like what gets saved for D23 and then what gets aired, at San Diego Comic-Con.
And Disney Plus Day might steal some of those TV shows they're working on too.
So like, do they are like, okay, for Comic-Con, let's just like tease some stuff, just do strict movies, and then Disney Plus Day, obviously we'll talk about the series and maybe the D23 Expo, show some more stuff. I don't know. Obviously, there's always something being produced and shot and made at Marvel at any given time, so there will be new things created behind the scenes in a studio between July and September when the expo is. But it does make you wonder. It's cool though. It's cool that they're going back to San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah. I think the biggest question for me is, a lot of the stuff we've seen announcements for, right? We know what's coming. A lot of this was 3 years ago. Fantastic Four hasn't made any progress yet that we know of. Blade has made progress, but that's through like articles like Deadline and stuff like that, and that was announced 3 years ago. We know Deadpool's in the works, a Shang-Chi sequel, Captain America 4, the recently announced Thunderbolts, right? So is this the Comic-Con where they bring in mutants? Do they say Kang is the villain? Do they say Galactus is the villain? Like what is it gonna be that's gonna really, like you said, they want to rock the house, they want to shake the world, they're gonna steal headlines for days.
I feel like we're definitely going to get another new roadmap graphic, right? Where they throw it up on the big screen. Here's all the logos. Here's the time when they're going to come out. We're going to have a new one of those for sure. I don't know which expo it's going to come out.
But how far ahead do you think they go? That's going to be my question, because all this was 3 years ago. We had a pandemic since then, so a lot of it was delayed a bit. So is it like the next 3 years?
Yeah, that is the question, and also the main title begs the question of what is going to be kind of like the next antagonist of like this phase. I mean, you could be obvious, right, and say it's a multiversal thing. We even got a little bit of a hint of a multiverse in Miss Marvel last week. Yep. Obviously, we just came off of the Multiverse of Madness. Yep. Spider-Man. Who else is this going to affect?
Yeah.
That seems to be the obvious choice, right?
Right. Well, that's what I'm thinking. But like, again, Marvel, they do a long-term thing. The first Avenger, we were talking about this before. The first Avengers movie culminates from 5 things. The villain was Loki, but it's leading towards Thanos. Across.
It's like what does this all ladder up to, right? Because for the most part, we start to see like these fractures in the multiverse, but there's no like clear path of how any individual character or group is supposed to like team up and like stop it and defeat it, right? things are very clear, very simple, very easy when it's Thanos, right? It's just a dude. Let's find this one dude. He's
with a
somewhere
rock
out
collection
there in space, and then we'll just like beat him to a pulp, right? But even when it comes to the multiverse, I'm pretty sure the animated What If series is considered canon, right?
It could be.
We've kind of seen like big multiversal swings go. You know, we saw like that version of like the Vision jump through dimensions, and people have to get trapped. So I think the thing that I'm getting at here is there's no singular thing to punch, right, to save the day. So I'm wondering if Kang will be the one they install, and he'll be the punchable one. If it'll be Galactus, can you even punch Galactus? He's a little too big to punch.
So, my question for that's going to be is because at the end of Multiverse of Madness, spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched it, but it's now out everywhere. You can easily get it. Is that Clea shows up and they say, you've caused incursions. Incursions are where dimensions crash together, right? And one of the planets, in order for that to live, if they crash together, neither live. But in the comic books, how you defeat an incursion is you literally blow up the other Earth, like you blow up the other universe. So whoever remains standing does not get crushed, and the incursions continue. So is it Secret Wars? If it's Secret Wars, that's Doctor Doom and the Beyonder. Is it is that now, or is that 10 movies from now? They're working towards the Beyonder / Secret Wars. For now, it's Kang, and then maybe something Galactus / the Celestials or something like that. Similar for the Eternals, and then Secret Wars. It would be my kind of guesswork based on what we've seen, but I think they are setting the groundwork for a Secret Wars film.
Yeah. Also, I feel like if you gotta kind of go like most obvious, right? I feel like we're trying to be like super clever, trying to like read the tea leaves, look through like the comic book events, like, what makes the most sense? But if we think about it, what is just like one of the next most popular comic book titles that exists? And like Secret Wars has got to be up there, right? It's like one of the few things that they haven't done. Like they've already announced Secret Invasion, so it's like there's not a whole lot of super iconic ones left. Like they're always making new ones, right? That are great, but like. Yeah. And like in the pantheon of like what's the easiest thing to pluck, Secret Wars seems to be
because there's several. There's 2 Secret Wars issues, one from the 80s, one from the mid 2000s. The one from the mid 2000s is actually where they actually get a lot of ideas. That writer Jonathan Hickman, they steal a lot of his stuff for the movies, like Thanos' Black Order and all this other fun stuff, the incursions. So I think they will take a Secret Wars thing, but I don't think that's going to be right now, right? Like that's the big. They're going to like, okay, well, at the end of this, all these planets we've been showing you over the past 10 years are going to collide, into like a battle world, an amalgamation, and then we'll have to reset it, maybe condense it back down to one universe kind of thing.
And talk about like, and let's say they, who knows, push it out until 2030, right? Imagine going to a movie in the year 2030, right? We don't even know if our planet's going to be here by then. Yeah. But imagine going to the movie theaters in 2030, right? We're at the Secret Wars, everything blows up, falls into each other. We're left with just like one universe. The word multi has been thrown out the window, and then okay, let's go ahead and recast our characters. We can almost reboot our whole MCU universe. Now let's get people going back to the movie theaters, rewatching a reboot of like Captain America and Iron Man. I'm not saying that's what they should do or need to do, but I mean, if you look at Hollywood and look at just comic books in general, they do it all the time. And there's nothing there, and this would be an opportunity, if they needed to recast or start fresh because they've run out of characters. It's a way to do it right there, easy out after a couple of years. So, I mean, my guess is, like you said, it's going to be a Jonathan Majors Kang bunch of variants, right? Because he's on the horizon, and we've been dealing with the fallout of He Who Remains from Loki. I think that's a pretty solid guess. We do know we want Fantastic Four, especially after Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. People crave Fantastic Four, right? Like, and they've talked about there's no real big dry erase board in the Marvel offices, except for probably in the corner says listen to Superhero Slate for your next idea. They say it doesn't exist because they don't want us looking for it.
Right.
There's one there. I know.
Yeah. Well, but they also probably, to their credit, they are. Reading the reactions online, right? Like you talked about, like people are searching Secret Wars. The sales of these comic book issues are flagging up the coming up the high road. They're like, yep, this is popular. Let's do this kind of thing.
What's the biggest advantage of a dry erase board? The word erase, right?
Mm-hmm.
can just.
I always thought it was dry. I thought it was dry. It's just easy to get it done with. But this is the whole point of them coming back to Comic-Con is great for us. That's going to be a great news week for us. When they're not there or DC's not there, it's kind of a bummer, right? We don't really have a lot to go on. So I cannot wait to see those screenshots of those logos. People taking photos from the from the audience for this.
Yeah, they'll probably save all the good stuff for the D23 Expo, like all the footage and maybe brand new announcements. We're just looking for a nice little logo garden.
Yeah, we need something to update our upcoming releases page with. Give us some logos, give us some titles. We'd love to hear it. Moving on, Thor: Love and Thunder. A new trailer dropped this week. It's the last trailer because the red carpet premiere was also this week for this movie. So, which is like 2 weeks ahead of time. So, early reviews are out from people. I think the embargo is still down, but like people can like put their early reactions right to it. But this trailer shows off the Thor's war goats in full force here, just screaming at you the whole way through this trailer.
Yeah, they really leaned into the viral video of those goats that like scream, like they're Taylor Swift. Yeah,
my mom and dad have about 120 goats at their house themselves. They're casual goat farmers, if you will, and boy, this nails it right on the head. Feels like being home with these. There's huge goats, but I think the other thing you mentioned about this trailer, it's the humor is there with this show. They're gonna have fun with it, and I'm excited to watch it and just kind of a popcorn thriller, if you will.
Yeah,
while we watch this.
There's more Guardians than I thought that there was going to be. I know we've kind of both assumed, we'll probably see the Guardians almost like in a cold open type of situation and then maybe come in like Deus Ex Machina style in the third act to kind of save the day. But this trailer is kind of hinting at like, oh no, they're kind of like part of the storyline. We actually got like a line from like Groot and Rocket, which is something we hadn't gotten before. So I still think that might be a little bit of a misdirect. I don't anticipate a lot of Guardians in this movie, but I was surprised to see as much as we did.
Yeah, it seems to be kind of in the same area where they're taking all these Guardian shots for. Because we know there'll be a training montage, right, with Thor getting back into shape with the Guardians and pulling the ship and all this other fun stuff. But I think the other quick thing about this shot in this trailer, Mike, and I don't think this is a spoiler at all because they can always change things, but I believe it's pretty early on when they go with the goats, around 13 seconds. There are actually two Celestials in the shot.
I saw that, and they seem casually placed. They're just kind of like looking through like a bit of a ring, so who knows, it could be like a hologram or magic, or maybe it's an Asgardian TV screen or something.
That's not Asgard, the other one. Athens with the other god Zeus. This is Zeus's world. Yeah, they could just be like magical things, not the real things, because they seem a little small compared to the boat flying away. But if we talked about things we see in Marvel connecting all the dots later down the road, is it Celestials that are just going to be in the background forever, kind of like how the Watcher, like Stan Lee, kind of was, kind of thing. But I thought that was a little fun thing. I don't think it ruins anything, but I'm excited to see how this whole movie pans out, if you will. Really, really excited to see it. On the other side of that, today, actually, this is hot news. Chris Pratt said the War Goats will appear in the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. Apparently, Taika left some stuff, loose in his movie that James Gunn has to deal with in his movie for continuity's sake, and the goats were apparently one of those things. So
it sounds that's funny.
Yeah.
I wonder if there'll be like a end credit scene where like Drax is like walking into like a storage room on like the Milano, and there's just like goats hanging out in there. Yeah,
he's got the goats. I would love to see them in this. How they put them in this Christmas special is going to be hilarious. But also, someone mentioned it's kind of like an improv thing, right? So James Gunn now has to like yes and with the War Goats. So. They got the models, right? They just copy and paste them into their next movie. So, very, very excited to see that. I don't think there's anything else. I would like to see maybe a Christmas special preview, right? That's supposed to be this year, is it not? I think it's supposed to be a holiday this year.
I think so, yeah.
I say Christmas, but it's a holiday special. Let me get that right. Space holidays are different, but I'm excited to see this. This is going to be something new where they bring the characters of a movie into a smaller, kind of fun one shot, if you will, on Disney Plus. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness right now on Disney Plus, in regular and IMAX versions. Mike, I believe a friend of the show, Quentin Parker, messaged us. He said he had not seen it yet, right? I believe, and I was like, make sure you watch the IMAX version, because if you got the choice, why not watch the taller screen? It's going to have black bars anyway. So,
is there a Zack Snyder slider that you can swipe on to get the black and white chromed out version of this? Yeah,
well, if you use your old RGB cables, just don't plug in one of the colors all the way, and you'll get that.
How it was meant to be seen.
Yes. So the other part of this is a fun little fact that there's been some commentary stuff come out on this movie as well lately. Apparently, the villain Gargantos from the beginning of the film, the eye is a scan of Elizabeth Olsen's eye to foreshadow that's the Scarlet Witch. You never know watching it up close.
I saw that and I was like, I feel like that's more of an Easter egg. Like, who the hell knows exactly what? I guess maybe if there's a robot in the audience watching it, right? Like you bring your phone, turn Siri
Elizabeth
on,
Olsen's phone keeps unlocking in this movie for some reason.
Throw Face ID up on that.
Yeah, but that's a fun little Easter egg that shows the attention to detail in this movie, right? Like that's really cool. There's a Twitter account, I think it's called like 4K Screens or something like that, who's gone through like uploaded really cool 4K screenshots from the movie, including, of course, the Illuminati sequences everyone keeps talking about. I think that almost overshadows the entire movie in and of itself. Some of the weird like, I guess, creepy shots of Elizabeth Olsen's face when she gets like the sharp, jagged teeth like a demon. Some of those shots. It's just really fun to see it through other people's eyes and watch it. But I'm glad it's on there. The timeline on the Disney Plus app was updated with the Disney Doctor Strange edition. It is, I think, before Hawkeye, but after Eternals. When you open up the Disney Plus app, which, all in all, at the end of the day, means nothing to me. Because Spider-Man's not in there, right? I always figured Spider-Man was before Hawkeye because of the Christmas thing kind of going on there. So, yeah. Doctor, have you had a chance to rewatch it this week? I know you have a lot of time, Mike.
Not yet, but I'm looking forward to going back and watching my favorite scene of my undead Necro Doctor Strange. I love that dude.
Yes. The other interesting fact about this movie is it might be a signal for the end of times. Sadly, the Steelbook did not go on sale for this until last week.
Oh my gosh, Chris, what are you going to do?
Well, you say that, but if you look at the bit rate off of disc versus streaming, I still like watching some of the higher quality movies on disc because of that. Like the Atmos soundtrack is completely uncompressed. You get a better pixel rate on the images. You know this. We've talked about this about Plex streaming, right? Like you're familiar with like the black banding. Like whenever you see like a black on a streaming thing, it kind of looks like there's like little bands of black slowly grading. Those just aren't there on that stuff, and that's that's great. I don't think you need to buy everything. Like, I'm not going to go buy the Adam Sandler collection on 4K Dolby Atmos. I wouldn't even buy it on regular K, but like it's just, buying these is going to be harder because people are going to stream. But I just wish streaming services could keep up with the bit rates to give you that good picture along the way. Hopefully they come out with the anti-glare edition stream.
Yeah, that's what I need.
Where they just automatically darken all the areas where your TV's hitting, or the light's hitting your TV. That way it looks consistent across the board. Moving along, Miss Marvel, episode 3. We're at the halfway point. And you sounded like you were able to catch up on this finally. You were able to catch both episodes. And I was incorrect. They're not metahumans. They said enhanced people in that episode, by the way. Episode 2. Because there was a recap for episode 3, and he said enhanced individuals. So I was wrong. Just wanted to come on and correct myself. What I enjoy about episode 3 and 2 that you gotta watch, the culture of this community, and I don't live in this culture. I've never experienced it, but like reading online, people are very appreciative and like embracing how the show has embraced the Muslim culture. People from Pakistan, the families, everything together. They've really done a great job embracing this. Episode 3 with the wedding was a really fun experience, to kind of see all that stuff kind of come together. But I think the real surprising point with this is we're learning of literally people from another dimension that need these bands to go home, which makes me think, even though it was found on someone with blue arms, maybe this isn't Kree-powered bands after all, Mike.
Yeah, I was personally a little confused with the episode, so I guess we'll throw up a bit of a spoiler warning here. If you haven't been watching Miss Marvel, jump forward to our next topic here. But there was a lot of lore dumped into this episode, right? Mm-hmm. So we were told that this woman that like arrives at the end of the last episode, right, in the back of that Porsche, right? This woman is from another dimension, right?
Yes.
So she is stuck on this Earth. She has some residual powers left over, it sounds like, because they say something along the lines of she hasn't. That's why they're not aging on this planet.
Yeah,
but are we to assume that they would age normally still back in their dimension? That wasn't super clear. But also, how did they make it to this planet? Because they were talking about like they came over from a different dimension. I just kind of thought like maybe a lot of this incursion was happening from either like Loki / Spider-Man / Doctor Strange, but that means that they would have only been like trapped, in this Earth for like a couple of months or something like that. Yeah. So I guess they're hinting that either this always happens all the time in a multiversal situation, that just occasionally people slip through and they're just like, oh fuck, how did that happen? Or are they hinting at that, like, back in the day, which I think it was like 60 years ago, 80 years ago, something like that?
It was quite a bit, because it was like her grandmother's mother.
Yeah, that there was some sort of other event. So that's the part that I'm confused on. Like, they're building up like the mythos and the lore around the multiverse, but like it seems like it can happen kind of like whenever. It's very loosey-goosey.
Well, I think we're going to get a reveal on this, because what we've seen here is the second episode, when she used the bangles, she saw the image of this lady who was like the villain lady, right? And then another one, she saw like a train, but her grandmother saw the train. So apparently there's not just one bangle, there's two bangles, right? That they said they need both bangles to go home. I think we're going to find out where these bangles came from. The blue person makes me, again, I think they're Kree powered, but like maybe they used them too much power and opened accidentally brought people over to it from another dimension. I don't know. The interesting part here is they call it the newer dimension. Newer dimension in the comic books is called the light dimension, which is comprised of photonic energy. So whenever, I guess in episode 1, right, when Kamala, it looks like she goes through the floor and comes back the other side, we see like those dark people with the light eyes. So in the comic books, they use this energy from this dimension to create a new Captain Marvel in that dimension. So I think we're in the back. We're now in the back half of this, coming forward with 4, 5, and 6. We're going to go probably back to Pakistan, learn the origin of how these people came over, and why there's two bangles. And I think Kamala at the end will get both bangles and be involved with the Kree when she has both of them.
I mean, and that's a whole other thing that Marvel to me, it seems like Marvel is just kind of like, glancing over, and they don't really want to deal with it or try to explain it too much. But you bring up the whole point of like dimensions, right?
Yeah.
Like a dimension is not the same as a
universe,
multiverse, right?
Yes.
And then also, it's not clear if a dimension, a la like where these Nor people are from, or even like where Shang-Chi ends up going to, right? I would say that is a dimension, like the mirror dimension of where Doctor Strange like found Dormammu in his first film. Those all seem dimensionality based, right? Yep. But then you have Asgard, which kind of feels halfway like a planet, like in space, but also halfway a dimension. So it's very. You almost just gotta take a step back and be like, okay, what is happening?
Well, then there's the multiverse, another universe.
Yes.
I think to me, Asgard, I get that it's just an alien, quote unquote, alien planet with godlike beings who can travel with their magic and whatever. But like, you have dimensions and universes. So a universe is where another parallel version of you could be. The dimensions just seem to be parts of your universe, but like, they're not doing a good job explaining the difference, and maybe that's part of their goal, right, Mike, to explain this later. But like, I'm excited to see this more.
Or what they'll do is they'll never explain it, and then they'll just blow everything up in Secret Wars. And like, okay, we don't have to explain it now.
Yeah.
Well, we were going to, but we blew everything up. So what's the point?
Yeah. So to me, the newer dimension, I thought she said the negative, like something like the negative dimension. I thought it was maybe like Urdu for negative. I'm like, oh my god, the negative dimension, negative zone. Oh my god, this is fantastic. 4 level. It's not. It's. I looked it up. It's the light dimension.
Yeah. Well, then also you also have to filter everything through of if you're like a human being, right, that sees something magical that you don't understand, you might call it something like, oh, this is like a special dimension that our culture is connected to. But if you pull out and zoom out, oh, it's like a pocket dimension. Well, yeah. That's what you did when you came across it, millennia ago. It's all very confusing.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point. The way they deal with these newer people is they call them jinn, right? Like the evil genies of Hindu culture, which are similar to kind of how Asgardians are in Earth, right? They're supposed to be gods in Norse mythology, but they're really just aliens on another planet along the way. So it's very, very similar to that. But my appreciation for the show is that it's moving quickly. Like I feel like any other show, right? They would save this to like episode 5 of 6. They're like, hey, guess what? These people you thought were your friends, they now want your powers. So we're going to solve this in one episode. So I'm glad they're moving quickly, and I'm really excited. I haven't seen any previews for the next episode. Try to stay off that, but like hopefully the next one, they travel to Pakistan for real.
Yeah, I feel like there's 2 things that I really, really love in the MCU. One of them, everyone will agree that they love. It's like the huge, gigantic battles that they build up to over years, and it's this huge culmination, and it's this big, like, awesome, hell yeah, like in Endgame, and everything is, like, popping off, and, like, yes, look at all this eye candy. And another thing I also look forward to is like the big lore dumps, right?
Yeah.
I loved the last episode of Loki, even though it felt very open-ended. I do like how it was just one big lore dump where somebody just sat down at a desk and just talked to me and explained everything, and it like Jonathan Majors had me on every single word. I'm almost hoping that like maybe in a year or two, right, Doctor Strange like stands up at a podium, he gets all of our characters that we've seen in all of these movies, they all get in the conference room, and he's just like, okay, everybody, I'm going to explain everything to everybody so we're all on the same page. I'm going to tell you what a dimension is. I'm going to tell you what a multiverse is.
What if they get
I've got a slide for Asgard. I'm going to explain what the hell that is.
What if they get the guy from Ant-Man, what's his name, who does like the voiceover stuff? Like in his
yeah,
they get him to do it. I'd watch that.
Would be
like hire him for a set of Disney shorts that like I forget his name. Whatever his name is explains the MCU, right? And he's just kind of breaking it down, and it's like fun little...
is it Michael? Is it Michael Pena?
It's Michael Pena, but I don't remember his character's name in the show.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I want like a big, huge lore dump, so we're all on the same page. I think that would be really fun.
And I think again we're on the cusp of getting it for this one. I don't think they're not going to explain it because the character Kamala, unlike some of the other MCU characters, like she's curious, she wants to know, and her friend Bruno, who's like her Tony Stark, if you will, her guy in the chair, wants to know. So I think they're at least trying. They have the characters in place to ask these questions, and I think we're going to get some with the history.
What's the over under on these last 2 episodes?
3.
Seeing Brie Larson, right?
3 episodes.
Oh, there's 3 episodes.
We've really watched 3. We're at the halfway point.
Yeah, I feel like you got to work Brie Larson in there.
100%. Right? She's in all the posters everywhere. My guess is the last episode. Like if the blue arm is indeed a Kree person and not someone from another dimension, she's got to show up with the Kree at some point, like or to fend off from the Kree. So I don't know. She's kind of been side character in 2 movies at the end credit scenes. So we're overdue for a Brie Larson before the Marvels hits next summer. 1 year away. Anything else on this before we jump into the next Star Wars thing?
Let's roll.
All right, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. This is a rumor. I think this has been a rumor forever, but I think even more so now than ever. Cameron Monaghan is rumored for a live-action series based on Cal Kestis, who is the character in the games. He looks just like him. They modeled him after him. He's currently, the first one was... 5 years before Kenobi, so 5 years after Revenge of the Sith. The next game should be taking place same time as Kenobi. I would not be surprised if they pick up a show and do something around him, but I think the games are a pretty good place for him to live. Like I don't need a movie or TV show.
I mean, I mean, it's kind of, I don't know if this was intentional, right? But when you make a whole video game character based off a real life actor, I mean, it's right there. It's so easy to do. Like, they know how to act. It's not like, I'm not saying like a voice actor is not an actor, right? But like, even like a voice actor doesn't always necessarily translate to screen 1-to-1 if they don't look like the character. We got lucky with like Bo-Katan, right? Like, I feel like that worked out really, really well. So I could see it there, but with this rumor, it almost kind of feels like, I don't know if this is intentional, but like, is Disney Plus trying to make like two different kind of isolated Star Wars like buckets, right? Yeah. We got kind of like the Obi-Wan, Andor, possibly Star Wars Fallen Order bucket, and then we have like the Mandalorian bucket. They're separated kind of too far in years to really have them cross over in a way without characters like really aging, right? But that does seem like they have these two tracks running, but then also they have that kind of what's that doctor show coming out? Well, it's not
you're thinking Dr. Aphra, but like the dark acolyte, which is High Republic era, which is where all their current media focuses are.
Yeah, so that would be kind of like three different time eras. Yeah. So yeah, I wonder. Because with this, it makes me think that they're building out the Obi-Wan. Yep. I mean, are we going to see Andor crossover with Obi-Wan? I mean, I feel like there's no pre-existing lore out there, right, where that would like destroy some sort of canon. That seems like it could be an easy crossover.
Well, we talked about that would make us watch Andor, right, knowing that Obi-Wan was in it along the way. My thought process is a lot of the people who maybe he saw or were in Obi-Wan as like early rebels, right? Some of those characters may show up in the Andor show as well as like the early rebellion kind of going on here. I think Cal Kestis is great as a video game character, but I don't see the need to bring him into the live action. Like, why? I guess what's the purpose? Now, the only thing I could see, the only reason I would be probably like a little bit giddy is if they if Kenobi gets a second season and they bring him into contact, Cal and Obi-Wan together, right? Like, two Jedi would be, just as good as one Jedi.
Maybe they like kind of put his appearance in between like maybe like the third video game, right? Maybe there's like a new power he unlocks because he met Obi-Wan in the TV show.
I think he also in that trailer for the new game, the Fallen Order, or whatever the next one is, Survive, whatever it's called. There's that Bacta tank with that one-armed Sith in it, or whatever, that coming after him. So maybe if he needs, since Cal really wasn't in the Order long enough to know history of Jedi, maybe he's looking for someone who knows the history of like Jedi and Sith.
He's looking for his own lore dump. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And Obi-Wan would have one. There's always Yoda, but I think bringing up Yoda before he meets Luke again would just do it kind of a disservice along the way. So. There's ways that this can work, but overall, I don't think anyone's clamoring for a live-action Cal Kestis movie, or series, if you will, along the way. On the other side, the flip side, the lighthearted side of this is Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation, coming to Disney Plus, I believe in August, maybe the 1st of August, end of July, somewhere in the summer. A new trailer dropped, and I did not know this, but Weird Al has written his own Scarif Beach Party song and will be in the show as part of the show. I had no idea. This looks straight for kids. Like, I have no interest in watching this other than Weird Al.
The Lego Star Wars universe on Disney Plus feels like the new Charlie Brown, right? Like every holiday. Yeah. We're going to do every holiday.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, it kind of leans in, like, I know it's supposed to lean the goofiness, but like it's almost like Robot Chicken parody of some of this stuff. Like where the Emperor is asking Vader in this trailer to rub him like down with lotion because his shoulders get sunburnt. I'm like, this is like almost Robot Chicken parody here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably not going to watch this. If I had kids of the right age, I'd probably look forward to watching it with them a little bit. But there was one kind of funny joke that I liked where the Emperor was on the beach and somebody announced a competition for like ruler of like spring break or whatever.
The
Emperor can't help himself. He has to go for it.
The beach. I think it was like the beach ruler, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's funny. Even on vacation, he can't turn it off.
Yeah.
So that was funny.
Yeah, and like you said, it also canonically this movie or episode or whatever it is can care less. There's like a young Ben Skywalker, right? There's Obi-Wan Kenobi singing a young to Jabba, like at Jabba's palace's karaoke night. I don't know. I did see Max Rebo, and that gets a point in my book if you get Max Rebo in any of your shows. So, Star Wars Summer Vacation, Lego Star Wars. Check out the trailer with Weird Al's Scarif Beach Party theme song. Lastly, last bit episode, we had our season/series finale of Obi-Wan Kenobi this week. No announcement on a season 2, but boy, did they leave this open enough to that they could easily do more of these shows. Either way, so spoiler alert for Obi-Wan Kenobi series as a whole, especially this last episode going forward. I do have to make a call out here, Mike. I think they fixed the lightsabers based on my complaint last week because I feel like these were a lot sharper, pointier edge lightsabers.
They got your notes.
They did. They were like, "Hey, can we turn that down before we render it out for next week, real fast, please? Thank you." This whole episode is great because it really focuses on an Obi-Wan Kenobi Vader duel. Right? There's really nothing else about this episode along the way. I forget. There's the parallel of the third sister / Reva going to Tatooine, but the focus of this episode was the rematch on this moon planet, whatever it was, between Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed seeing them battle each other again. It was very much... I didn't think we would get as much as we did. I thought it would be more of a one and done, like a little bit here, a little bit there, kind of like that was it the second episode where he finds him. Mm-hmm. But I was very impressed that to see them use their lightsabers, use their force powers back and forth, and for them to actually, this is an exact ripped out of Rebels where Obi-Wan breaks Vader's helmet open, and to do the mixed voice of literally his human voice and his robot voice at the same time was, I thought it was a really cool thing to do because we've never had both at the same time. We've always had one or the other along the way.
Yeah, that was really cool. I mean, I'll start off by saying like things that I liked about the episode, and that was the thing that I liked is the altercation with Obi-Wan and Vader. Even though it was predictable in a sense of we all knew that this was going to happen in the last episode, right? And we all knew how it was going to end. It was going to end open-ended. They both can't die, right? Mm-hmm. And the status quo can't change so much. So it was more of just an emotional, cathartic fight for Obi-Wan. Tactically, it does seem... I get it, right? He's very emotionally connected, like to Anakin, right? But it does seem silly to like leave Vader alive. It almost seems like there should have been a moment where like Obi-Wan like had like the lightsaber like right up to his neck or something. Mm-hmm. He was like about to about to chop his head off, but like just couldn't do it or something like that. Because in my head, I just think of like you leaving him there alive. He's gonna go murder and kill so many more people after you leave on that spaceship.
That is a trend for this show. If we can flag one thing, they're not checking any of the bodies to make sure they're dead along the way.
Yeah,
at all.
And it's just
from episode 1 through now. If you've got them down, make sure they're dead because nobody's doing that.
Yeah, and like I totally believe that Obi-Wan would not be able to kill Anakin, right? They have like an emotional connection, but I feel like it just didn't quite. I didn't quite feel it on the screen that I needed to in order to not just like let's just nip this in the bud. Right here. But the fight overall was really cool. There was lots of shots that feel like, oh, I can see the concept art that was made for this episode, right? I almost wish that they did what The Mandalorian does, right, at the end of their episodes and kind of show that art because I thought that would be really cool. So the fight was fun, but we all knew it was coming. We all knew how it was going to end. There was some fun stuff in it, right? Because we get to kind of see Vader do some of the choreography that he was doing with Reva the previous episodes where he was successful, and then Obi-Wan was like kind of good at parrying it. I loved all of that stuff.
The force rock throwing from Obi-Wan I never expected to see. Like he's just like literally just bombarding Vader at a certain point with the rocks, and like it's kind of like to me, I draw a parallel to Dragon Ball, right? Like, Kenobi was down literally in a hole, and he had to get his second win to come back and do this. But when he did, he was like literally whipping out techniques he wasn't, you don't normally know him for using, which was fantastic.
Yeah, his power level was over 9,000 for sure there. But the whole Reva side of things of that episode really made no sense to me, right? I was never entirely sure why she was on that planet. Did she want to kill Luke to get back at Obi-Wan? Did she want to kill Luke because she knew it was Vader's son?
She said she wanted to kill him because to hurt Vader, but she doesn't know that he didn't. She does not know that he doesn't know that he has a kid.
Yeah, a lot of siloed information to like make that, and then I get it, right, that people on a desert planet can be like badass, but it's like they know. Like a Sith, like one of the most powerful people like in the galaxy, is like coming to kill them, and they're just like, no, let's hunker down here. I think we can hold them off. I was like, this is the dumbest thing you could possibly do. No, hop in a speeder and fucking get out of there and wait until you can get on the phone with Obi-Wan. I just like, I get the whole thing, like, oh, this is our farm, we're standing our ground, but it's just like, I could see that if you don't have all of the information. They know exactly who's coming for them. You are not going to stand a chance. And they didn't know she was injured either. If they knew she was like really injured and not up to like 100%, and I suppose maybe they did know because that dude that ran like the food court like probably called them up. I don't know. It just felt really silly. Why would you stick around? That's dumb.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that to me that makes sense in like the terms of like who, like people who are moist. Like that's the problem with them later on, right? Like he's like, we don't want to go anywhere, we don't want to be bothered by people. Like it's just a character trait from Owen and Beru from episode 4 brought backwards, like dragged back, right? Because he's like, I don't want to be dealing with this stuff. It's fine. I think Reva, I agree with you. Reva is the worst part of this episode, right? Like, she doesn't really have a redemption arc. She just kind of ends where she is, and we don't know what her next goal is. So that makes me think they're plotting this for a second season, or maybe she's in the Fallen Order game, the next one, which takes place there. Because in Fallen Order, the first Fallen Order, I call them Fallen Order. The first one with Cal Kestis, he fights off the first sister, and I believe the 7th sister or 9th sister. So I could definitely see him teaming up with this character, another Inquisitor turned Inquisitor in the video game.
I mean, the way you're pitching it, it sounds like it wouldn't happen in a video game. It sounds like it would happen in a Disney Plus series.
Well, it could, but if they wanted to tie these two together somehow, they could, like, because like, Cal's still dealing with Inquisitors. Who knows better? The Inquisitors. Oh, go find Reva. She will help you deal with Inquisitors. I don't know. There's just a way that they could do it and bring that character and / actress into there without doing it. But like they specifically left her alive, and it was weird to even have that. I guess like it just felt very rushed along the way. Yeah. But the focus of the episode was Vader versus Obi-Wan, which I think was the highlight of the episode by far.
I think the last thing I will harp on until we can talk about like the fun cameo at the end was they do this same thing that they did in the previous episode where like Obi-Wan constantly wants to throw himself on the sword, right? He's just like, let me get out of here. They will follow me. I'm trying to save you people, right? He's been doing it like the last 2 episodes, right? And then you think like he's on board, right? Okay, no, I get it. I need to stay with these people. I need to protect them. Then when they finally get away and they're flying away in that spaceship, he just goes back to his same old plan of like, let me fly away. I'll distract them. And then Vader says like, follow Kenobi because he's more worth it. But then Vader just ends up going down on that planet in his own ship. Like, couldn't Vader have just gotten in his own ship and followed Obi-Wan, and the big destroyer could have followed all of those rebels? So that was one thing that was annoying. And
he's a Sith, not an intelligent person.
It overall contributes to what I was kind of talking about in the series. It just kind of has like this sloppy and clunkiness to it. But we got to see Qui-Gon again, which they used the nostalgic cheat code. I was like, this is cool. I kind of like seeing that.
Well, there are 2 cameos. One is the Emperor, played by Ian McDiarmid again. I think the longest appearing actor in any Star Wars thing. Not James Earl Jones. I take it back, James Earl Jones. But like, that was it was small but minor, but it was good to see. You know, they had the real actor back, right? You know, that was nice. And then again, Qui-Gon Jinn, of course, walking off with I wouldn't say rejuvenated Obi-Wan Kenobi, but he's not living in his cave anymore, right? I don't know what his next journey is, but I don't think he's afraid to leave the planet anymore if he needs to. Mm-hmm. So that makes me feel like they're setting up like an Obi-Wan Kenobi possibly crossover with Andor, maybe this Cal Kestis dude, possibly a season 2 where he's, you know, fully is on board with setting up the rebellion. But like, I don't think we need to see him with Luke and Leia anymore. Like, they're fine, they are protected where they are. Let's get him off world, like you said, the sand planets, and get him somewhere, you know, before we bring him back in and put him out to pasture, if you will, on the sand
also
farms.
From a story standpoint, Obi-Wan can't really spend any more time with these kids, right? Like, it will ruin the original movies.
Yep.
Like, these kids will start to remember him, right? I could see like maybe like one more interaction with like Luke, but it would just have to be just like a passing by, just so he knew who old crazy Ben is, right? But I would say even from the last, like with the last scene with Luke, they said, "Oh, do you want to meet him?" That could be enough there, right?
Oh, exactly.
Then,
I think just leave them both alone from now on, and go do some more Jediing around. I honestly could see him possibly even meeting up with Yoda, Yoda, and Qui-Gon having like a 3-way meeting, like on Dagobah, would be pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, that's true. Something like that could still happen
because they need to talk about the rebellion and stuff. But like, what it doesn't line up on is, you know, Ben knows Leia is his sister, but like in A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back, he's like, well, he's our last hope. What are we gonna do? And Yoda's like, there's another. I'm like, Ben knows Leia's there, right? Like, what? I guess maybe what's changed his mind, I guess, or they just leave it as is. It doesn't really matter. I would hold the movies more canonical over this episodic stuff, but it's just interesting.
It does start to get a little bit mentally exhausting too, watching all of these prequel driven Star Wars stories, because you just constantly are like pinging in your brain, whether you want to or not. It's not like you're being like an overlord nerd and like trying to correct what you're watching, but your brain constantly is pinging all of these other things that you've watched in the Star Wars universe, and you're trying to like square it and stick like the round peg in the kind of oval shaped hole that they've made. So it gets a little stressful. Well, so I don't know if any Star Wars creator right now is lined up to make something brand new that's not attached to anything, you know, post Rey. I don't know if that's possible, if that's on the list.
Taika is making something, he says, that's not connected to anything.
Well, who knows what that means timeline-wise, because, I mean, theoretically, you could say, like, it's a freaking galaxy, right? You could make a whole Star Wars movie on a planet, right, and that just literally never talks about Jedis or anything. It can just be a rom-com. It just happens on a planet.
What I'm going to say is I think the time doesn't matter, because The Mandalorians has proved that you can have it right after or in between trilogies and it works. The problem is writing in characters that are huge parts of everything else. Boba Fett didn't work because literally he ties his ties to Jango Fett, the clone troopers, and all his story. Obi-Wan's okay, but like he has to be he goes from A to B, and he has to be from start at A and end at B, and you can't do anything else that contradicts that. The Mandalorian, he's just creating whatever he wants along the way.
Well, also the Mandalorian is having this extra advantage of they don't necessarily have to lean into like the Skywalker storyline necessarily. Like, it seems like they're setting up they're going to spend a whole lot of time on Mandalore. They're going to lean into what that culture is, what it is to live on that planet, like, you know, maybe like a Game of Thrones-esque style ascension to who's going to control that planet. So they're just leaning into a totally different side of Star Wars that hasn't really been tapped into.
Right. But the timeline doesn't matter. They could have put that anywhere and it still work, right?
Well, yeah, because we're lucky because it's not like there was a character in like in Rise of Skywalker that offhandedly mentioned, oh yeah, remember when Mandalore blew up last week? Yeah. And it's because if that would have happened, they would have had to they would have to adhere to that, right? So in that show.
Well, the greatest they do adhere to like this Clone Wars, but that's still Dave Filoni, right? That's his still little storyline. But like you can put something in between episodes 3 and 4 that are not Skywalker related and be pretty good. And I think, Andor aside, because it's a prequel and we know how he ends, I think if you have a good story and good characters, they don't have, like you said, they don't have to tie into the Skywalker saga, but they could literally place it anywhere and be just as good as the Mandalorian. So, but like I said, Obi-Wan, I think it's a fun show. It had an emotional ending, but like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter like what it did. So,
one thing that was never really clear in that newest trilogy, right? They never really made a point to say how big. Well, wait. So it's the Empire in the original trilogy, right? What are the bad guys called in the new trilogy?
The First Order?
The First Order, right?
Yeah.
So the First Order, we never really got a clear example of how big the First Order was, like what their reach was, what their political power. Because at least as bad as the prequels were from a storytelling, like a fun perspective, at least there was a lot of lore that was attributed to the rise of the Empire. We get to see a Senate take control and get its hands all over all of these planets all across the galaxy. So we have an idea that the Empire is the status quo that needs to be toppled. In the new trilogy, it was never really clear how big the First Order got. It almost just kind of seemed like a scrappy group of bad guys that built a new Death Star inside of a planet, and that's kind of how they got a little bit of legwork. So it seems like there's a lot of room in there to tell a story, because it seems like it's not clear who exactly was powerful. I don't know.
Well, there's also the kind of left off piece there of Finn being like they were you're kidnapping children and turning them into stormtroopers at a young age, right? Where's that whole storyline? That'd be great to kind of delve into the things the First Order was doing that's even worse than the Empire, because they had volunteers as stormtroopers. So there's some opportunity leading up to that, but I don't think anyone knows or cares about anything that happens between 7 and 9 at all. Like there's it's a big ball of yarn or like Christmas lights that need untangled, and no one wants to do it.
It almost seems like I feel like I'm also almost pitching the idea in my head of what Avatar and the Legend of Korra did, right? Where there was this group of people that are just like, all of you powerful benders out there, you're the worst. Like, you have these huge unchecked powers, and us normal people are just down here in the gutter just wishing that we could be special and be able to defend ourselves with rocks, fire, or wind, or whatever. Maybe this newer future of Star Wars is somebody just says, are you guys tired of these Force users just destroying the galaxy, right? Whether they're on the light side or the dark side, there's always a freaking planet blowing up somewhere. I don't know, maybe somebody rises to power on the promise of I'm going to equalize things better for us, and maybe that's kind of the bad guy or something.
Well, the expanded universe had a set of creatures, or a race called the Yuzan Vong, who were Force resistant. So actually Force users were useless against them, which I think would be, expanded universe was great. That's what they actually did after, the Empire fell in the book. Mm-hmm. So bring those characters or that race, that species back into the fold from the Outer Rim, and be like, look, yep, we've got real problems. Oh, Sith and Jedi can't beat them. Too bad. We got to rely on real people along the way. So it'd be interesting to see that, I think. But yeah, I mean, you're right. There's a lot of opportunity here. We don't need to keep milking the characters we know and love. It's great to see Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen back on screen. Great nostalgia, great little factor. We might, appreciate it more when more stuff is filled in or done later. But at this time, so we want to see the new stuff. We want to see the new stories. And you can include lightsabers in that, including cool black ones. I love a black lightsaber. Anything else before we end it up, Mike? Wrap it up.
I think that's it for this week, Chris.
All right, so we'll take some of this dead space whale, wrap it up, take it home, feed it to our desert camel-looking thing here. But if people know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at, sir?
Oh, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and you can read my web comics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, VALDAN, or Instagram, Valdan87. If people know about the show, what we're doing to get our, getting ready for our Thor Love and Thunder review coming in a couple of weeks, can they find all that good stuff at?
head on over to superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all of our episodes and our awesome show notes. And if you want to see our upcoming release calendar of all these films coming out this summer, we got a great tool over there where you can get just a nice little list of everything that's coming out that will definitely be updated once we get kind of that amazing San Diego Comic-Con news dump that we're all looking forward to. So you can find that at superheroslate.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Please reach out. What did you think of the season finale, series finale, whatever it is of Obi-Wan? Are you looking forward to another season? What do you want to see out of Star Wars? Pitch me an idea for where you think we should go after Rise of Skywalker. I'm curious what people's concepts and thoughts are. But we love you, and we love our super fans. So if you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, folks. At least half of us will. I'll be on vacation next week, but Chris will be here holding down the house, and we love you.
That's right. We will catch you guys next week.
Bye. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.